Welcome. We all have this deep longing to belong to something, to belong to a place, to belong to other people, to belong to ourselves, I guess, to belong to a community. And that often is very much connected with the deep fear of being kicked out or cast out. And I think the joke of it is, or the paradox is, that sometimes we are sacrificing the belonging to ourselves for trying to belong to a place or space we don't really seem to fit in. So we try to make ourselves fit and smaller, which, by the way, is very, very understandable. And we live at this time in a world where there seems to be a epidemic of loneliness, and that people feel much more disconnected. And I've had these talks quite a few times about what's worse, being on your own and feeling lonely, or being within a context, your own family, and feeling like you're still carrying the burden of everyone and you don't have anyone to go to, and to tell how you're really doing, because you're expected to be the one who's carrying it through. And that also can be connected with a huge loneliness. And what often also I think happens, the minute we open up maybe to the wrong person, they take a run because they can't cope with our pain, let alone with their own pain. And so I think it's a very tricky space, this whole subject of belonging and wanting to belong. And I remember that it's a few years old now, read Brené Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness, it was called, and it was exactly about that sometimes we need to find the courage to stand in our own truth and not abandon ourselves, to find real belonging with, I guess, maybe also our values that really matter to us, and belonging to the people who matter to us. And what makes, 1 minute, what makes the whole subject even more complicated and complex is if you have a story of having been scapegoated. That might be that in your family of origin you got the role of a scapegoat and you were blamed for everything, and you started to blame yourself for everything, or bullies that scapegoated you. And I think what's also really sad about this, that often the truth tellers, the people who have the courage to, the whistleblowers and whatnot, they get, it gets turned back onto them and they get blamed and scapegoated. So it's a real problem. And I think when you have been growing up in a family where you were, the dark sheep or the black sheep, and you were scapegoated, you kind of internalize that role so much, and you walk around just waiting for the next attack to happen, just waiting for the next person to somehow blame you for something, especially maybe when you want to share your opinion or you want to share your truth, and you have this deep-seated fear that you're gonna get it from somewhere if you're just saying what your hobbies even are or what you like, because somebody for sure won't like it and somebody might come and attack you. And I think that's a very sad thing in many ways, but because we internalize those voices, and then a part of ourselves is always the scapegoat, always doing everything wrong, and the other part inside ourselves turns into the attacker. So I think the difficulty is, even if it stopped on the outside, we still need to work on those internalized voices on the inside and find the courage to keep on putting ourselves out there and to share who we are, to find that true belonging, because I think it's a high price to pay to fit in and to not belong to ourselves, and losing ourselves as a consequence of it. And so all of this fits very well in with the next story that drops tomorrow at 6 p.m. my time, which is GMT, and it's called The Fingerpointers and the Scapegoat. And I will attach, as usual, a little snippet. And so I'm going to conclude with, may we all find the belonging first and foremost with ourselves, and then with other people. Your creative rebel, Anja. Take good care and have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Eventually, the scapegoat stamps her feet and leaves the arena for good. The arena where the finger pointers point their fingers at her, because they have nothing else to do. The finger pointers are so much used to pointing their fingers that they can't help but to keep on pointing. Their fingers are directed into the empty space.